All right, we're back again. It's your host, Christian King Taylor, aka Third Eye Vibes, and today we're politicking with Miss Stacy Pugh.
Hey.
How you doing today?
I'm awesome. It's been a long day. It's been a long week.
Most days are.
But I'm excited to be here. I love doing podcasts because you never know what to expect.
Yeah, and then also I think podcasts really bring out certain parts of people that they don't get to bring out
Absolutely.
very often. Because how often do you get interviewed? You know, or anything like that?
Not a lot. And it's always exciting when I do, because then when I do, I start getting into some things in my mind that I didn't realize I was going to start sharing I needed to share. So It's always cool when I get the opportunity to have a conversation. I feel like there's a lot of value in conversation, even if it's recorded, and then people can go back and listen to that and find something.
And that's exactly why I like doing this, because it's like we're always listening to celebrities and podcasts and interviews and all type of things like that, but every person has a story. If you sit there and talk to them, and you can learn from anybody.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to do. So with that being said, who is Stacy Pugh?
Ooh, that's a loaded question.
Take it however it comes to
you.
you.
Who is Stacy Pugh? Stacy Pugh is a connector. I'm a connector. I'm figuring out my purpose and my passion, and that really is bringing people together. My whole life has been curated around togetherness, and from family to friends to associates and things. I found that I've learned so much in spaces where I'm with people and we're together and we're connected. So I would say I'm a connector. I'm your favorite person, I hope. I have a very wide open, complex mind. I like to say I'm a weirdo. I like sci-fi, but I also like pretty things. And I'm just an interesting character to myself. So I'm sure I'm an interesting character to somebody else.
And I think even just you being a connector, that's very valuable, especially of people of our color, because we are very disconnected from each other.
Sure.
You know, especially when it comes to things that you do, curating and all that stuff. We're so sometimes shut off from each other, and we're very short-fused and short-patient with each other. So I think your space in this world is very valuable.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope so.
Yeah. But also what I know about you, you do a lot of help and philanthropy.
Yeah.
And helping homeless and work like that. So I would like to dive into that. And
Sure.
how'd you get into it?
So my background initially when I came back to St. Louis from school is I jumped right into nonprofit work. Most people, if they tell you if they work for a nonprofit, they didn't go to school for it. They pretty much just saw the work and they saw the mission and they wanted to be a part of that work. And so my love for the community came through starting at a nonprofit that was geared towards helping students go to college and making sure they had the success and a coaching and someone that can help them as they're in college trying to navigate that. And that was with first generational students who didn't have family members or people who could support them as they were going through college. And so that's where I really started getting in. And I'm not even gonna say that's where I really started. I always had a heart and passion for my community. I just had to navigate different things and trying to figure out where that landed and what I really like to do. So working with my college age students, moving back to St. Louis in 2012, really opened up my mind to specifically St. Louis and what I can do to add value to our city and what I can do to give back to people within our city. And so if that came by way of me working at a nonprofit and helping students get through college, or if that came by way of me actually starting my own business and figuring out, okay, what can I give to the actual community? What funds can I raise? What things or items can I raise? I always had a passion to do something like that. So may it be doing food drives or collecting food, or maybe collecting funds and working and partnering people who can, work with women and get them into some places and get them some things. I always found myself connected and doing something around just helping folks. Right. I grew up pretty well. My family sent me to private school. I went off to college and all those things. but I know that there's things that are bigger than me.
Right.
And I know that people need some kind of support in some way. And if I have the means, if I know that I like to do it, then I'm going to like submerge myself into that kind of work. So that's where it really all started, was working with college kids who just needed some coaching. And they were literally like, you know, they was my little homies. They were my friends. They were my peers. They were my mentees. And as much as I knew that they were learning from me, I was learning from them. And that really, really placed me and put me in a space where it's just like, okay, I have to continue to keep doing something like this in some capacity.
Right.
And I also tell myself that when I come across people, I want them to remember what they experienced from me, and I want it to be a good experience, even if it's short, even if it's long. I want them to have a good experience with me, and I want them to know that I'm somebody that they connected with, and that I could connect them to whatever they need to get to. So, yeah, so that's really where it all kicked off. Was working with college students. And
so, do you feel even in your upbringing, how did you find your purpose? Because also that type of purpose isn't something that we're very privy to or even know much about. Did you find that before going to college or within college, or was that kind of nurtured or kind of?
It was definitely nurtured. Going to college, I found myself really just trying everything. And so I really figured out what I wanted to do. I mean, I'm still curating what I want to do when I grow up. I'm still growing up. That's why I keep telling myself.
We all are.
We all are, right? So we're all still growing up.
The problems start when you say you're not growing up.
That's exactly, because there's always growth within self. If you're not growing, then you're staying in the same space. And so I knew that I wanted to help people. I just didn't know what that looked like. Before I went off to school, I thought I was going to go into nursing. I thought I was going to do something medically. And then it kind of stepped into, I'm going to do something with psychology. Like I want to possibly be a counselor or something. Like I always found myself being a problem solver in some kind of way. People coming to me and just giving me their problems in a space of like they wanted me to listen, or I gave good advice. And so I just kind of was just like, okay, what do I really want to do? What am I going to do with this, something that I like? And people are always coming to me and I don't even know why. Right. So just through being in different clubs in school, just being super active, communicating with all parts of the community while I was at school, the different jobs that I had, the people that I experienced, I knew like all of it just linked to, like I said, just being a connector. Right. And being someone who wanted to know people's stories, and being someone who wanted to understand like who they were and what their purpose was in the world, and how can I add value to what they're doing. And so that kind of helped me, and that's helping me now curate what my passion is. Right. If I keep going back to that space, and that's helping me continue to generate the ideas that I have, be in the spaces that I am, continuing to grow, add value. Like just going back to those things really helped me keep knowing what my passion is. Like I said, that's people, that's connecting, and that's growing with people and telling their stories and all those things.
I definitely relate, because I feel like my whole life I've always been that person people are asking advice for, and I'm always giving and helping, trying to help. And sometimes it would be like I always want everyone around me just to succeed, and try to figure out those things. But also being that I'm aware of that, I also know there's another side to it. So how is your mental health, and what things do you do to help through that? Because sometimes when people
no, seriously,
when people throw their stuff on you so much, it's still on you.
Yes, know? It is. And I used to be that person where I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is exhausting, right? You don't want to say that sometimes you don't want to say no to people, or you don't want to hear it, or you just, it's just a lot of different things. But I've learned that you have to set boundaries. I was just talking to a friend today, and I was just explaining to her that to have peace of mind, you can't keep giving out pieces of your mind.
Yeah, ooh, I like that.
Okay?
Yeah, I like that.
Like to have peace of mind, you just can't keep giving out pieces of your mind, because you have to realize that you have something within you that's so sacred and so valuable that you can't keep giving that to people who
don't
aren't
value
really
it.
valuing it.
Yeah.
They just
That
see your
that
light.
hurts more. That
Oh,
even hurts more
trust
when
me,
you
believe
give and you feel like I really helped this
Yeah.
person, and it feels like they just took it and just threw
They
it out
just
the
took
window.
it and threw it out the window, and it can be hard when you want to feel empathy for people and you feel so connected to them. But for me, I had to build up this protection of peace around myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I didn't, I was going to keep spiraling into this space of feeling the feels that people were having and not really identifying the feels that I was having and things in my own life. It's like, man, I'm feeling for this person. I'm sad for this person. I'm with this person. I'm feeling bad for myself and all these things like that. And it's like, no, it's setting those boundaries so that I can figure out what do I do to protect myself so that I can continue to help people. What does that actually look like? That might look like no. That might look like me not picking up the phone in that moment. It might look like, hey, I'm protecting my peace. If, whatever that looks like, it's like I had to build up those walls around myself and just be honest about myself and finding my own help, going to therapy.
And knowing your edge, knowing how far you can really go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So identifying all of those parts have really helped me as I'm helping people because there is a lot that can come in the territory of helping people. I sometimes think about therapists and counselors and I'm like, I know they have to have a therapist and a counselor because they sit there all day long and have to help people, but I'm sure they have to have people who help them as well.
That energy goes somewhere. And
somewhere.
Whenever you're helping somebody who's down or confused or something, and then you relieve that of them, you may be fine, but you take that in, and it may transpire in any type of way throughout your life.
Absolutely. And also just identifying that I have to come to self-realization. My friends tell me all the time, you have this light, you have this aura that people want to attach to. I sometimes try to put a veil over that because I don't want to feel like people are taking advantage of that, you know what I mean? But I have to recognize that that's there. And I have to be a realist, and I can't say, oh no, nobody's gonna hurt me, nobody's trying to attack that, nobody's this and that. But it's just like, no, you have to know that, identify that, and protect that. So that's why I say I always get back to centering and protecting my peace, taking time for myself, setting days out of the week, setting some time in the day of the week where it's just strictly for myself. This is for my self-care. This is for my mental health, setting up routines and practices so that I can be better. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with pancreatitis. It came out of nowhere. I thought it was literally bad, food poisoning. I was traveling to New Orleans. We had stopped in Memphis. We had ate some good food. By the time we had got back on the road the next day, I was just so uncomfortable. I was sick. I was just so uncomfortable, just so sick. And I was just like, when they told me I had it and that some of it can be based around stress and just like habits and just things like that, I said to myself, okay, you have to take care of yourself. You're taking care of people and their mental or where they need to go and what they need to do, but you need to take care of yourself because this is something that can literally put you in a hospital. And it's not a good feeling.
Stress is the biggest killer.
Is the biggest killer. And so having that, I guess, wake-up call really put me in a space where I have to set boundaries. I have to say no. I have to identify what... A lot of people say that self-care is something that they need to incorporate or something that they incorporate, but what does that really look like? And it can look like something different for everybody, but it's like, okay, what does that actually look like? And am I actually practicing it? Or am I saying I'm doing self-care? Oh, I'm going to sit here for 30 minutes. That's my self-care. Okay, that's cool, but are you really sitting there? Are you really shutting off your mind, not looking at the phone, shutting down? Like, what does that really look like for you? And is that self-care actually putting you in a space where you feel better and you're healing? So I'm a big proponent of self-care. I'm a big proponent of people speaking to someone if they have issues, seeking the help that they need because somebody is there to help you. And I think that a lot of people, I think the stigma that we have to get away from, and I don't think it's staying the stigma because I've seen it just so much just within the Black community from what we've seen happen within our Black community of Black people get killed and we're getting we're getting these visual aids of us dying on TV every day, and it's just like we are hurting. We've been hurting even before it was visualized. We've been hurting, and just identifying that it's like we need to start identifying what is our self-care.
And for so long we've been looking elsewhere for everyone to help us with all this pain that we're going to, and until we went to the last resort and we're like, I gotta help myself somehow. It's
about helping yourself. And so I brought up that example because it's just like it's so much stigma within our community that what is therapy, what is counseling. I don't need to, a lot of people
crazy if you go to therapy.
Yeah, a lot of people grew up in families where it's just like, why do you need to talk to somebody? Talk to me. Talk to your family.
Some people don't give good advice.
I totally agree with that too, right? And I think that's why you have to vet people. If it's through anything, you need to vet them. If it's through a job you're working in, if it's through friends, if it's through family, any business that you're doing someone, when you're going to see a counselor, that is business. It's business about you, and it's very serious, and you should take yourself very serious. And if you don't feel like that person is going to help you, then you need to find somebody else.
Yeah,
because
you have
I feel
to know
like there's
what you're using
for
people for.
Exactly.
You have to trust people to be what they are.
Yeah.
So some people you can use for helping and do all those, and some people they're good for just venting.
Just for venting.
But
I've come across many of them, not many, but I've had maybe one or two, and I'm just like, this ain't a good fit, because I just feel like I'm just telling you a story and like how I'm feeling, and you're just like, okay, writing down, here's a plan, go and practice this, and it's just like,
how'd you have this plan before I even told you all that?
Okay, like I want somebody to come and be like, all right, listen, girl, or listen, my guy, this is my situation, this is how I'm feeling. What can I really, what plan can I actually put in place to help me in said situation? But I just say that like self-care is super important, and I hope that anyone who's listening, that they find something that centers them and helps them truly take care of themselves. Because I was watching the show and it was just so profound, and I've been sharing this lately. Like, we only get one life. This is no dress rehearsal. We only get one. All the decisions we make, every person we come across, every connection, we only get one life. And so if I want to spend the rest of my days in some certain kind of peace, in some kind of growth, in some kind of happiness, I know that I have to preserve myself. And that comes by way of self-care.
Right. So on that note of self-care, I would like to either, if you can differentiate the two or talk about the similarities, but when it comes to self-care and self-love, how do you feel about those two? Or do they feel the same, or what do you think?
That's a good question. I don't even know if I can answer that.
Because I think for me, I would feel like I think self-love is maybe that next level of self-care. Maybe after you've had some self-care for a long time and you learn how to care for self. That self-love is that unconditional part where you get to the point of really valuing yourself and also promoting and supporting yourself through self-care and other avenues. Exactly.
And I think that that's something to think about as we think about love and we think about care. When someone says, I love you, and when somebody actually truly cares for you.
Right. And also, nowadays, I'm not sure if people really know exactly what love really means. Yeah. Or what the action of love is.
Yeah, because love can be self-destructing.
Right. Because I think a lot of people think of love as like this thing you may catch.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you got love, we got love, it's love, regardless of what's going on in it. Love is love, when it's more of it's a deep care that, like I said, unconditional, but it's also overwhelmingly comforting.
When
but
you
also,
care, I mean, it's because you off, but when you care, there's love and caring. There's an extension. It's an extension. Love is the extension of care. I think if you have the root of caring for someone, you won't hurt them. Hey, there's an extension. I believe that when you actually tell someone that you care for them, that they know that love is there. Now, I also want to preface that love is something that you still have to give to someone to for them to actually believe and trust that you do care for them.
Right.
So there's this duality between the two that has to be carried, and they do have to go together for there to actually be growth, and for there to actually be some kind of connection. Those two things have to go hand in hand. Now, we've seen it. Love can hurt. It can break you all the way down.
Yeah.
But if that person cares for you, they won't try to put you in a position where you can question their love for you.
And also, when we find ourselves in those hurt moments from love, we got to realize most of our education of life comes from the most painful moments.
Absolutely.
So if we can use those things as valuable moments, I think we can more build. Like, I think a lot of times people end up in a circle.
Right.
Where they're just going through the pain. They numb the pain.
Right.
They get out of it.
Right.
And they get right back to it. You know,
It's damaging.
and it's because also I think in our community, I don't think we've gotten to the point of, even if we can say black love, or love of us. You know, I think we care for each other, but it's only to the point of the extent till you cross me, or until you cross that line. You know.
That's good. It's like, what is black love? People talk about black love in more intimate ways. We think about love in such an intimate way.
Right.
And it's very profound that we're speaking of this. I have a friend and we talk about this a lot. And I like to show my love in such a real and just raw, intimate way made for people that I actually and truly love. But love can also be hard. It don't have to be harsh. It don't have to be
But it's honest.
but it's honest.
And sometimes honesty is a little harsh.
It could be.
But also because we live in the age of sugarcoating, and where people can know something,
Right.
but you better not say it out loud.
Yeah.
And it's just like an unwritten rule.
But it's just like, say it out loud.
Yeah.
But come from a space where you're not trying to hurt that person.
Exactly.
That's the most important thing. Come from a space where you're not trying to hurt that person, or where you can't hurt that person. Hold them accountable. Accountability is something that we all need to be working on, continuing to work on. I know I'm continuing to work on it. But come from a space where you're not trying to hurt them by exposing things that they need to hear from you, because that's love. Because I don't want you to bump your head. Sometimes, some things you do need to allow people to bump their head, because that's love.
Because sometimes you got to realize it's just a bump on the head.
Yeah.
You know, it is.
Yeah.
Like, we also probably try to protect people so much to the point where they could resent you for all that protection.
Absolutely. But love, black love, it's such an extension beyond the intimacy between lovers. There's black love that should be curated and flowing through your family, through your community, and through the people that you are intimate with your kids, or with friends, or within businesses or companies, or just anything like that. Like that black love, I wish that we can continue to keep practicing that, but there must be care there first.
Yeah.
You must care for yourself. You must care for your partner. You must care for your community. You must care for your family.
Yeah.
If you have that mindset, then you can find that love within them. I feel like that a lot of the violence, a lot of the things that we have in our community that separates us, is because people stop caring.
And we lack empathy. And the one thing I think is crazy, because if one thing we do know in the black community, that we've all been through some shit.
Yeah.
And I think with that, we should at least have some type of, okay, I can empathize. Even if I don't know your story, I know you've gone through something that got you right here, and you wasn't trying to put that on me.
Yeah.
Stuff happens, and people are prideful and stubborn, and sometimes you can't explain what's going on. But if I can empathize and say, I understand that we might be able to get a little further. I think we're just so...
We're for self.
Yeah, very much for self.
A lot of people are siloed to their groups. This is my people. I got to take care of this little square I got right here.
And it's cool to not give a fuck anymore. You know, it's
exactly.
Which is weird.
Give a fuck about what?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's cool. I got to worry about them over there. I got to worry about what I got going on in my little group, in my little mind, and all this. And it's just like, it's so much bigger than you. we forget it's so much bigger than us. We get wrapped up into like what the world looks like and how we see how Black people love and care through social media. We find out that that's cool, that's where it's at. People want to chase that, but they're not trying to chase what's really happening.
It's a very
in their
surface
world.
level thing people are chasing, and and they think it's love is me reposting your post or something, or love is me doing this, but love is me, and if something's going on, I'm like, hey, I'm just here.
Right.
Or just sitting on the phone, like, we don't got to talk, we don't got to do
Right.
nothing. That's it. Love is, you did something to me, and I'm like, I know you did it, but we ain't got to, but I don't hate you.
Right.
I don't hate you.
Right.
I don't have to, especially hate. I think hate is so powerful and so dominant in especially the world today that it's become popular.
Yeah.
Like there's people love being petty.
Yeah.
People love being assholes. People love, I was reading something today where they were just toxic. People love, that
Love
being
toxicity.
toxic, and it's like, I saw something they were showing stories like where people were talking about how they did this to their exes or something, and it's like, oh, my ex can die, or my ex can, it's like,
People feel like they gotta get a lick back.
always.
I gotta get a lick back. Let me tell you something, your blessings don't come like that.
Exactly.
You gotta sometimes leave some stuff where it's at.
And that does you less harm than what you're actually doing.
But again, it's about how are they self-preserving and self-caring. Because if they understood a lot of that,
You
then
wouldn't
they
waste your time
They
with
wouldn't
that.
even waste their time with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Not at all. Because you have such a peace within yourself. This world is not going to be perfect. Everything's not going to come your way the way that it needs to. Everyone's not going to do you right, or in not every situation. You're not going to always get your way. But how are you self-preserving? Where's your self-peace within that situation? What have you learned from that, and how are you growing from that?
Right.
We got to have more of that.
Also, within this world we're living in right now, I would like to ask, like, how do these things transfer into your relationships? It could be friendships or romantic relationships, but being that the world we're in, how do these things transfer to you?
In the world we're in is in you're asking
just saying how this toxicity is very popular, pettiness and all the stuff, and like how is it?
It's hurt people hurting people. It's way too much.
Right.
Hurt people are hurting people way too much, and I, like I said, have to keep self-preserving myself and identifying how do I self-care for myself so that I don't fall into how this world wants to identify me or see me based upon how they've seen other Black women. Being team petty, being this, being that. Like, no, I don't want to operate in that space because there's so much negativity that comes with that.
Man.
It can get to a point where it's like hurting you and you're realizing like blessings aren't coming your way.
Right.
Because you're operating in space of like, girl, I'm petty. That's just the way that I am.
Exactly. That
And
just
it's
means
just like
do you even have patience for yourself then? If you're saying
it's
you're
about
just
the
petty,
patient. Yeah, and I get it. It's so hard because some people will really test you.
And it's sad that it's very much wrapped into humor nowadays too.
Yeah.
Where people think it's so funny to demean someone.
Yeah.
You know, like they've never felt that themselves.
Yeah, and that's why I just said hurt people.
Right.
Because they identified that they're like, oh, this is I've been through this. Ain't nothing. I feel like I built up a thick skin. Like they ain't built up shit.
Yeah, there's an armor of bullshit.
It's the armor of bullshit that they put around themselves, and they feel like to make themselves feel better, I'm gonna go into this world and attack people and make them feel hurt because I feel like this is gonna make me feel good. But they haven't even really identified their problems or approached them or faced them. They've masked them and they're steeped in it and they forgot who they are. They're so deep in it now. It's so bad, it's so toxic, it's so negative. They don't even see with real eyes anymore. The veil is all.
There's so much numbing going on where people just feel so much better in that numb sense that any type of feeling is abrasive.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what happens. When you continuously numb something, by the time that feeling comes back even harder.
Right.
Everything comes back even harder. And that makes a lot of people even numb even more.
It's
and we're living in a
sad.
state of popular zombies in a sense.
And that's sad because that you kind of see that you're just like, damn, this person can't carry conversation. it's always this. People aren't really experiencing life. They're stuck in their ways about something. They don't empathize. They don't really care. They don't really love. They're numb. They're hurting. And it's like they're just free falling, and it's just like they're not actually using out their purpose of why they're here. And then they don't understand that, like, yo, you only get one life. You only get one life, and this is not a rehearsal. What I do hope for people who are like stuck in those ways or stuck in that space, I hope they come across more people who are so in tune with themselves. It makes them want them to question who they are and think about the things that they are doing. I just hope that there's more people who can keep displaying that, because sometimes in self-care or self-awareness, it's very easy to just get wrapped in yourself and your people around you, that you forget that you have to share this wealth with other people so that they can be better. You can share it. If they want to partake in it, it's up to them, but share it so that, you know, people can see and identify that, like, it's something else beyond just being this one kind of way.
Right. And the sad part is the system that we're all brought up in it teaches us that greed is good. Yeah. It teaches us that, you know, that it's dog eat dog, and if I get my shit, then fuck you type shit, and then people take so much pride over it nowadays, and it's detrimental to themselves and the people around them. You know. Absolutely. So on that note, I want to ask you about generational curses. And since we were just talking about that, and the people who break and are helping people, like, when I say generational curses, one, how does that apply to you, and also how has that journey been for you breaking those curses?
Right. Man, that's deep right there. Generational curses. I think for me, it's one, trying to identify what are the generational curses in my family or in just people around me. And once I identify that, recognizing it from a lens from where one, understanding how these curses came about, and then not being angry at the people because it is generational. Yeah. Because it has seeped so far down from where they were into how it directly affects you, not being angry. Yes. Coming from a place of compassion and almost like sadness, but more compassion, so that if I understand that, then that won't cause me to be angry.
Because we haven't really been taught to really experience our emotions. Any emotion we have, most emotion we have are very tied to anger. Yeah. So if we're jealous, we're angry. If we're sad, we're angry. Yeah. If we're insecure, we're angry. Yeah. You know, all these things change into anger, and that never heals anything. And plus, I believe our anger is one of the strongest weapons used against us as Black people, because anytime anything happens, when we're angry about it, they say, see, I told you they was crazy. Right. See, I told you they was wild. You know, when in all honesty, we're not those type of people. It's just something. We're hurt. We're hurt. And then, and just like in the sense of, if you're with somebody and you're like, oh, this is going on, and they're like, you so damn angry about everything, it just makes you more angry.
It makes you more upset. Yeah. For me, as I recognize generational curses, like I said, I had to see all of the generations and listen to people and their stories and what they've really been through, and know that whatever they're doing to me, it's not because of me. Right. Again, protecting my peace at all costs, protecting my peace of mind, protecting who I am at all costs. Whatever they're doing to me, it's not because of me. It's because of something that they've experienced. And therefore, I will not allow myself to be upset. I'm going to allow myself to empathize with them, to be sad for them, and protect my peace by removing myself from that part of them, excusing myself if it's something that's not going to be helped. And that's okay. I don't care if that's mother, father, brother, nephew, cousin, auntie, best friend, that I will not allow it to come against me. I can only identify that, okay, this isn't not about me.
Right.
I can't internalize this.
Mm-hmm.
So my breaking of my generational curse is almost to the point of like, I don't want to say ignoring it, but just coming to a space where like, if they want to argue, I'm not going to argue.
It's not
back.
as powerful anymore. It doesn't
It's
have
not
the same
power.
power.
It don't hold no power because I realize this is not about me.
Right, right.
So that's how the curse stops, when you realize this is not about me. It's about whatever the hurt that they experience, and it's sad that I am a product or might be a part of that. Now I have to recognize that it is not about me.
Right.
Some people don't have that sense of
And sometimes
mind.
it's just a call for attention.
That's it.
A lot of times it's just a call for attention, and a lot of people would rather have negative attention than no attention.
Right, and it's like, okay, this is the attention that they're seeking. How do I not give them the attention, but give them the attention that they need so they can recognize that they're hurting?
Yeah, exactly.
I want you to know that you're reacting this way or you're in this space because you're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Not offending them, but getting them to understand that you're hurting, and therefore, like I said, hurt people hurt people.
Right.
So them recognizing that, and then just removing myself, so I gave my piece on it.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's up to them
Let
to
them-
how
yeah,
they're
you can't force anybody. Yeah.
can't force it.
Yeah.
The breaking of generational curse comes from identifying that it's not about you.
Right, right, right.
It's something so much bigger.
So, in your journey, can you pinpoint anything, let's say maybe about yourself, that you had to deliberately change, or that may have came down from a generation before you, or anything specific, or maybe a situation where you was like, where you would have handled it one way, but then when you looked at yourself and you deliberately maybe changed it?
Probably, and it's something I'm still trying to work on, always trying to be right. I'm not always right. I can't always be right. And I think that not intentionally, we kind of always go into that space because we want to be like, not like, I guess I know-it-alls or something like that, but it's just recognizing that you're not always right. You have so much more that you can always learn.
Yeah.
You don't know everything.
Yeah.
Every situation you get into, I need you to learn from that. I need you to recognize that you can grow in this because you don't know this. You don't know every piece and part of whatever this process is.
Mm-hmm.
Or even something as small as within a conversation. You can be wrong.
And it's okay.
And it's okay.
Because being wrong helps you learn.
There you go. So
yeah.
it's about being okay with being wrong, acknowledging that, saying you're sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all those things are big. Something I'm still continuously to work on. I have a friend, and he's just like, yo, like, take accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's okay to be wrong. Like, you don't have to be right. I think it comes from a space of you don't want to look stupid.
Right.
You don't want to look stupid, right? It's just like, dang, I don't want to look stupid, but it's not a battle.
Yeah.
I think that within our black culture, within being black and just black people, we feel like we got to battle with each other.
Right.
It's like, no, we ain't got to battle with each other. It's like, yo, you got it wrong. It's cool, but I'm here to help you.
Right. We can be right. We can be right.
And we can be right.
Right.
And even if we can't be right, let's understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to understand your perspective. You're going to understand mine.
Yeah.
But
Understand the path that got you there.
That's it. That's it. So I would say that's something that I hope that people are working on. It's something I'm continuously trying to work on because I want to grow and I want to be a master of things, some things, and I don't want to just know everything. I want to be a master of certain things and know certain things, but also have people give me what they know and obtain that knowledge because I don't always have to be right.
Right. So from there, I want to ask you, like, when it comes to like just children, like these days, what are some things that you think, if you can just give me maybe one thing that may be valuable that we need to instill in our children, and one thing that we need to leave alone that we have been instilling in our children?
I think the one thing is trying to make them be something you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
That pressure for some kids can be a lot. Especially if you've come from a certain kind of background and you didn't have a lot of experiences, or you didn't do X, Y, Z when it came to school, or just whatever. Stop trying to make them be something you weren't. Support them in what they're trying to do if it's positive, for sure. But stop trying to rewrite your life and putting that into the youth, or putting that to a nephew or a brother or a daughter or a son, whatever. Let them figure out what's their own purpose and passion and support them in that. But don't press them into being something that you weren't. You still have the time to live your life and figure it out. Don't put that, instill that into like children, because that's not for them. What's for you and what you want to do was for you. That's not for them. Cultivate their gifts.
And also, you're putting all the weight of everything you held in for all your life that you didn't get a chance to, or you didn't do just because, and then you just throwing all that weight on your kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say, and then on the other end of that, listen to the youth. Listen to them. I've been in too many spaces where it's just like, you young, y'all know what you're talking about. No, you can't hear that conversation. There's certain things that you have to get.
But that was also the old way of thinking. A child to be silent until spoken to.
I think that's very hurtful. I think there's some things that you have to protect them from. Absolutely, they can't be a part of every conversation or dealing. But listen to them, because they still have a mind, and that mind is growing, and they have their own thoughts and they're processing. But listen to them, because if you listen to them, then you can find out who they are, and then you can care for them better. You can love for them better.
Right. We got to stop thinking our kids are just nothing until they're 18. Or they're dumb until they're 18.
They're not.
They don't. Because this makes me think of something, because it's just the whole Dwayne Wade situation with his daughter.
Right.
And there's a lot of hate spewing from the black community.
Right.
And it's not our fault, I don't believe, because we've had just our masculinity kind of just poked and prawned at for forever, that we get insecure if we see anything different or anything opposing that idea. So I would like to hear your thoughts just on their situation, and also the outlook of people. I
think there's ownership in that it is our fault, because we haven't addressed and corrected people about some of these issues for so long. We just let it be because of masculinity, and that we haven't addressed it. So the not addressing it and let this to have gone on so long, I think it is our fault. This man loves his child. Exactly. Regardless of anything, this man loves his child. This man cares for his child. His child. His child. His lineage. His DNA. His child. It's so many people within our community who don't even take care of their kids.
But will tell you
don't
what
see
to do with yours.
Or say what you need to do with yours, but don't even do half of what this man is doing for his child. We meddle in situations where it's just like, the biggest thing here is that that's his child. No matter whatever your thought process is, whatever what you believe in or don't believe in, that man loves his child.
And that's one thing that has been absent from the black community for a long time. Or even with LeVar Ball and his three boys. Right. How they talked about how he's so abrasive and how he's rude and he puts too much pressure on them. But we haven't seen that level of love for a father and a son dynamic. Right. That's the way that he cares and he loves. And for a man to have manifested what he did with his three sons, we should look at that as so powerful. Yeah. But a lot of times we're told to bring these people down. You know. Yeah. And, I mean, it's the thing of that's how it works within their family, and there's something you can always take away from seeing that or experiencing that. And I just think that people really just like they get so beside themselves. They just don't see the biggest thing is that there's still love and there's still care there. We go back to love, we go back to care. There's still love and there's care there. Yeah. And we have to put that in place before we're trying to sit there and judge. But why is this child doing this and and he's calling his son a girl, and this like at the end of the day,
he loves his child.
They seem happy to me.
They're happy.
Yeah.
what are you doing
And
for
also,
yourself?
it seems like his child is teaching him a lot about himself.
Absolutely.
You know,
a lot of things that he probably was holding onto, or how he was identifying stuff just based upon what he's experienced.
Mm-hmm.
But that goes back to like, let children be children, let them grow, let them cultivate in this world. You know, don't let them get overexposed to certain things, but let them bump their heads, let them see what this world really is like. Because if you shelter them, then they're gonna come out and
fascinated by the dark.
There it is.
If you always like,
and if you overexpose it,
yeah.
then it's just a lot that can go into that as well. But it's just like,
it's a balance act.
it's a balance act. And you need to listen to children. We need to listen to the youth, and we need to know that, like, probably when we were little, we probably held so much value and stuff, but because just the generations that we grew up in, we didn't get that. So now it's like, I'm a millennial. I'm feeling that I'm getting that now as I connect with people, as I do the work that I do, as I'm the person that I am, because I'm literally cultivating, myself. Like, my people around me are cultivating me, and it's like, I wish I had this feeling. I wish I was this way when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so as I'm feeling like this as 31, I'm sure the 16, 15, 13, 12, 10-year-old is feeling like, man, I want to feel like this within the world that I'm in. And we're allowing that, but it's still some work that has to be done.
Right.
And it can't be written to anger, because a lot of, as we go back to generational curses, has to do with anger, it has to do with control, has to do with knowing it all, it has to do with sheltering, blind eyes, secrets, all of those things.
Because like just because there's always reasons behind it, because we're so fearful of just to survive. This is what we were speaking about earlier, just the death. We feel like we have to walk on this line of perfection, you know, and even if we're like, I'm not going to do it, but my child better do it, because that's the only way they're going to survive.
It's hard.
It is.
It's a lot to put on a person. And putting it on a kid or something like that, man, that can really mess them up. It can really mess them up. Let that child see who you are and your self-preservance and as a person, and if they want to carry some of your attributes, let them choose to do that. But don't spew that on them in a way because you didn't have the opportunities of certain things.
Right.
That's where a lot of things can go wrong.
Right. Well, I don't want to keep you forever, but I do appreciate you. And also, I want to give you this time. Also, if you wanted to ask me a question, or if you wanted to, talk about a topic that you may have came up while we were talking, or anything, you have the floor.
I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on and politic. I think it's something very powerful in exchange of conversation and listening to people's minds. Again, it's not about being right. It's about listening and understanding different perspectives. And I think that is dope that you've created a space for that. Because we don't have enough of that. And I know we have podcasts and we do.
We have so many podcasts and things, but we're just also still bringing down people throughout it, like talking about why they did this.
And that's no. So I think it's really dope that you have this space. And just being an artist, it's a different form of artistry to have conversation. And I guess, I don't know if you shared in any of your past podcasts, but what made you get into that space of being like a visual artist, want to bring content forward in this way?
Well, no, honestly, I've kind of always loved these type of sessions. Before podcast even it was invented,
right?
I remember being like 8, 9 years old. My mom had like a taco night with martini party, and there's a bunch of women around. I'm sitting here talking to them like I'm grown, like giving my advice and stuff like that. But I always felt like my most power when I was listening to people talk and trying to help. And I feel like people feel their most power when we're collective, when we're talking about things. And I think people would understand that we're a lot better and a lot further along the line of even just consciousness than we think we are, because we don't talk to each other enough to even find out sometimes. Or we don't ask those questions that really go deeper, and in such a surface level right now that we're always just talking about like, oh, I heard you got a new car. That's
right.
And it's like how long? Like even just the simple question of how you doing isn't really how you doing no more.
Really
because if somebody really told you, you'd be like, I didn't know, you know.
I didn't know they was gonna go into all of that.
Right. So I've been doing podcasts. I don't always release them, but I think now I'm just now getting to a point to pinpoint the podcast to where it's like this is what we're talking about, because there's a lot of people who want to talk about these things, especially just in our millennial generation and the generation below us. There's a lot of people just trying to break all these negative traditions and toxic past and everything that's been coming through us, because one, we don't want to give that to our children, and two, we don't want to live our whole lives in that. You know, we want to see an optimism of the future. And for so long, we've always looked at the past as being the greater time.
Exactly.
You know, when we need to be logical and say, hey, things get better instead of getting worse.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. I commend you for like holding that space. We have to keep holding that space because it's super healing to just have positive conversation, having hard conversations, real conversations. So like, thank you for like holding that space and continuing something that hopefully more people will open up and have space to do that. And again, it's about just exchange of knowledge and energy and making sure that we're healing within our community. I think that's a big thing that I'm just praying for just over the next course of like all of our lives. And for my kids and my kids' kids, is that they experience a sense of healing, that they know that like my parents, my people around them, they wanted to heal themselves so that we can be healed. That's the generational love that I want to pass to them, not Christ, but love.
Generational love.
Yeah, that they are knowing that I healed from all the stuff that I had to experience, and know that within that healing, we can become powerful within our community, and that if we're powerful within our community, nobody can come against what we got going on.
Right.
Nobody.
And I also want to add, just because I want to always, I don't even like this verbiage, but play devil's advocate. Yeah. But I want to add that even with everything happening now, with just how everybody's starting, it's a clash with just white, black. Just the same way we have our generational pains and things, they do too. And I think they have a lot of generational guilt that they don't know about, and a lot of, you know, and the stuff that they haven't been free to express or ask or even been able to navigate the planes of knowledge that will break them free of these things. And I think those things are changing now, but I want us as people to give them the same empathy that I'm asking to give ourselves.
It's growth. Yeah. It's growth. It's understanding from that. But one thing that I want to add to that is that they need to come together amongst themselves and hold themselves accountable and have that exchange of conversation amongst them. We have been black since we got brought over here. Everything like they've put on us, all the stigmas, all the setbacks, all the restraints, y'all put it on us. Yes. So have the conversations. I just spoke to a woman maybe 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about it, and she was just like asking me, well, how do we do this and how do this? I said, you asking me, you need to go and ask your peers, your other white peers. How are y'all going to break these curses amongst yourselves? Go and talk to your auntie and your cousins at family dinner, your friends from around the way who you grew up, who are the same color of you. How are you all going to work to break that? Because I can't keep telling you how to stop killing.
Because I can't tell you. But also, just like how they have the stages of recovery, like in alcoholism and all that stuff, I think they've been living in that stage of denial for so long, and it also frustrates us so much because we feel like we're explaining something that's already known. And it's that stage of denial. So it takes that accountability first. Yep. You know, but I believe everybody can grow and everybody can progress. You know.
I hope so.
But thank you again.
Thank you. This was dope.
And until next time.
Till next time.